All right, good morning. Good morning. What's going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? Good morning. Let me get Instagram going here real quick. We always got like a 7-second, 10-second delay until Instagram gets into the mix here. Thank you for being a part of the show. Good morning to everybody. Good morning, my people. Give yourself a round of applause for making it here this morning. You didn't have to be here. There's many other places that you can be. Everybody knows you guys got plenty of different options in regards to content in the morning. So thank you very much for coming to this channel, hanging out on this channel. We got a busy show today. We got a packed show. You know, sometimes there aren't a lot of topics. So as a professional, we got to kind of dig deep sometimes. And then you find out when the dust settles, I kind of have a lot of topics. All right. So by the way, somebody corrected me yesterday that Lakers basketball, that's right, it starts tomorrow. For some reason, for a quick second there, I thought Lakers wouldn't start again until Thursday, but they did squeeze in that game against Charlotte. Remember, we had a couple of the games that were canceled because of the fires. So we got a game coming up tomorrow. So it's not going to actually be very long until we're back actually reacting to actual games, which will be nice, I'm sure, for everybody. All right, my morning quote today. Here's what I got for everybody. Morning quote. Where's my morning quote, everybody? All right, here's this. Morning comes whether you set the alarm or not. Morning comes whether you set the alarm or not. I'm really, really trying to stop hitting snooze. I did it yesterday. I didn't hit snooze, and then gave myself plenty of time. This morning, all right, maybe I hit it one time. Okay, maybe I hit it one time. Morning comes whether you set the alarm or not. I think really what that quote's trying to say, try to enjoy your morning. Try to enjoy your morning. Okay, let me give everybody a quick rundown of what we got for the show today. And then I got a couple kind of things still lingering from yesterday. So there's going to be a few things that we kind of go back to from yesterday. Maybe I didn't get a chance to expand on. Let's put it that way. So we'll get a chance to do that today. And I had a really, really good guest on yesterday. And there's a clip that I want to play from my conversation with Kevin Gray Jr. I want to play that in a little bit as well. I think he kind of said something that went a little unnoticed. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that. LeBron fallout. Okay, so yesterday I'm having kind of an argument here with a couple of the listeners, which, by the way, I've told you guys this before. No problem. We don't have to agree on everything. It's not a bad thing at all when we disagree. I think it actually makes for a better conversation. I think what I was arguing about with some of the other listeners was different than what they were arguing about with me. I thought people were upset that LeBron didn't play in the All-Star game. And I think what people were trying to tell me, which I didn't realize till after the show, it had less to do with him not playing in the All-Star game. It had more to do with him waiting till the last second to tell everybody that he wasn't going to play. So that a guy like Norman Powell or Domantas Sabonis or someone like that could potentially have grabbed that roster spot. All right, we'll get a little bit more into it then. Because I think what I thought people were trying to tell me was that this man is cheating the game, maybe, is what I thought. That LeBron wasn't going to play in the All-Star game because he was bored. I didn't think it was that, but anyways, we'll get a little bit more into it. I want to keep going on that conversation. Okay, another topic. Cancel the All-Star game. Kevin Durant put that up there. We'll talk a little bit about that. Is that something that the NBA should actually consider, or is that actually just a cop-out and allowing kind of more power to the players to just be like, yeah, we don't want to do this, we're not going to do it? How about you just improve the product? But we'll keep going on that. Kevin Gray Jr. from Dallas, All City Dallas. So All City Sports, it's a network. They're in about 4 or 5 different markets. He came on yesterday and was representing Dallas, and we're talking about the Lakers and the Mavs. He said something about Luka that I want to play again, because basically, whatever your thoughts are on the Lakers, here's somebody that got a chance to watch Luka night in and night out, and he was talking about how dangerous the Lakers will be just because Luka's on the team. And he kind of really didn't care about anything else. He's like, no, let me tell you exactly what you're getting with Luka. I didn't really get a chance to expand on that. We'll spend a little bit of time on it. Luka's conditioning. Let me also say this. I feel like in a lot of my comments this last few days or so, there's a lot of people concerned about Luka's body. There was a podcast that was out there, a former executive of Dallas. I want to read some quotes about Luka and kind of his conditioning, everything else, and how much will Luka change whatever his style was in Dallas now that he's a Los Angeles Laker? We'll do that. Paul George on his podcast was talking pretty positively about the Lakers. I got a couple things on. I got a couple things on Mark Williams. Kind of the fallout that has continued with Mark Williams. And then Lakers got Charlotte tomorrow, so that's why that's still kind of a story here. And then I read something this morning about Caitlin Clark that just kind of threw me off. Baller, Caitlin Clark. We'll spend a little time on that as well. Coffee's done. We're now on the tea. All right, is it tea or is it a little bit maybe there's a little bit of Theraflu in there. Maybe there's a little bit. I'm fighting the good fight, guys. Sometimes you just got to fight the good fight. Whatever it is, just got to fight the good fight. All right, appreciate you guys hanging out here for the show. Let's take a look at some of the comments here. Rock Your Joshua, thank you for being a member, brother. Appreciate you very much. Good morning, Laker Nation. Bronx in the house. Good morning, all. Slee is the place to be. Sup, Slee. Good morning. Good morning, Sliwa. Good morning, fellas. I am a fan. I am a fan of when people say good morning to themselves. Because then it's not about here, it's about us, right? Somebody got a quote from me. A fool and his money are soon parted. Ooh, I like that. That's actually not a bad idea. If you guys got good quotes in the morning that you want to share, I'll highlight those. I'll highlight those all day long. All right. Let's get the show started here. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Quick reminder, if you guys don't mind to subscribe to the channel, greatly appreciate that. Just passed the 30,000 mark not too long ago, so something to keep in mind. You're also, if you want to be a member, an MVP member, it's $3 a month. I'll start putting up some special content on there. I already got the special emojis out there as well. No pressure, but if you are a member, I will 100% make sure to take care of everybody with special content, additional content as well. Okay, let's get the show started. So let me kind of give my thoughts here on this LeBron stuff yesterday. Going back and forth with everybody. People telling me, Al, what are you talking about with LeBron? People love talking about LeBron. People love there's two camps with LeBron. It's actually kind of funny to watch from my seat. All right, let me tell you what I mean by that. It's funny to watch from my seat because everybody gets so emotional. Either they freaking love LeBron James and the guy has never made a mistake in his life, or they absolutely can't stand LeBron James and everything that happens is LeBron's fault. Okay? Everything. Doesn't matter. You pick whatever it is. You go to a bad restaurant, you're going to leave in the Yelp review, this is LeBron's fault. Anything that happens, it's LeBron's fault. All right. I'm not as emotional as others when it comes to LeBron. I look at him as one of the all-time NBA greats, and that's kind of the only way that I look at him. I don't try to mix myself with anything else that he gets involved in because I don't care. And I'm sure he's got his own angles in everything that he does. He's a powerful person, and he's used that power as he sits at 40 years old and 22 years in the NBA. Okay, the conversation yesterday about LeBron. Conversation was that he was incredibly selfish. How can he pull out of the All-Star game? I don't care that he pulled out of the All-Star game. But I do understand those that are saying, well, why did he pull out so late? Let me read a couple quotes here. Kendrick Perkins yesterday. He probably knew he wasn't going to play when he was selected for the All-Star game, which that doesn't make any sense to me, but okay. How about giving people a heads up? How about not showing up to the actual All-Star weekend an hour before the game starts, and then all of a sudden you're taking away from another guy who should have earned to be in the All-Star game? Okay, that part I can't argue. I mean, I could tell you this. I can make a case here. I can say that, well, what if Braun was actually trying to play? And then he is 40 years old. It's not like, he's Anthony Edwards or he's Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He's, somebody. Anthony Edwards not the best sample because he didn't play. But it's not like he was Jason Tatum, 26, 27 years old, and then just pulls out of the All-Star game. Okay, you know what? Maybe I can make a case and say, well, LeBron was trying to go and he couldn't go. But I think there is something here to allowing for another spot, letting somebody else grab that spot. I could relate to that. I'm okay with that angle. Yesterday, I think I mentioned this just as we were starting the show. Yesterday, I thought this was more of a conversation of just Bron not playing in the All-Star game. It's like the guy's played in 20 All-Star games in a row. I'm pretty sure Bron is okay if he doesn't want to play in an All-Star game. And frankly, as a Laker fan, I'm sitting back there like, yeah, I don't give a shit. LeBron's been doing this for how many years? You're going to hopefully have a playoff run with LeBron, with Luka, Austin Reeves, some of these other players, of course, JJ Redick. And I don't care if LeBron, all I care about is Lakers got a game coming up tomorrow against Charlotte. LeBron good? Lakers got 30 games left in the season. They're hanging on to one of those top 5 seeds. Are they good? Is he good? He's obviously going to be a big piece of it. Kendrick Perkins gives his thoughts and basically says, how about you give people a heads up? Okay, I get that. All right, I get that. I understand that argument there. Here's Kendrick Perkins again. Am I mad about Bron not playing? No, I get it. He's 40. But I'm mad about how he went about it. I can sympathize there. I think the actual quote that Stephen A. Smith had out there was that LeBron was being selfish. Okay. I don't think that would be a shock if you told me LeBron was being selfish. I see the angle there. I see where you're coming from. I don't think I woke up this morning and said, LeBron's selfish. No, that would never happen. I understand that. Do I think anything LeBron does is magnified? Absolutely 100%. Do I believe, and I haven't even looked at the comments, I'll look at the comments a little bit later. Do I believe there are some people that no matter what LeBron does, they're going to bitch and complain about it? Absolutely. I do. And I'm sure there's a few people in the comments right now that are just waiting. Slee, you got to read my comment. Slee, you got to read my comment. You got to let people know how much I dislike LeBron James. I can't do anything about that. The only piece of this that I would have some sympathy towards is another player getting a chance to be an all-star. I know there aren't a lot of Laker fans on here that are rooting for the Clippers, which is fine. I don't blame you. That's not your team. Norman Powell probably deserved to be an all-star this year. Devin Booker probably deserved to be an all-star this year. I'm just naming out names, right? Domantas Sabonis. I don't pay too close attention to, so maybe there's other guys that are more deserving than those players specifically. But I think you guys understand my point. My point is that at the end of the day, I understand kind of somebody having the thought process and the belief that the timing of it, that the frustration of, hey, if he announces this earlier, another all-star can get there. But can I just say this about the all-star game? And then we're going to get off of the all-star game, and then we're not going to talk about it until next year because there's really nothing to talk about with the all-star game. Does anybody really truly give a rat's ass about the all-star game? The answer is no, because all everybody has done is complain about the all-star game. And I'm not saying that at anybody like they shouldn't believe that. I'm the same way. I don't care about the all-star game. The players have clearly told everybody that the all-star game is not important, but there are players that have never been selected to an all-star game where it's probably very meaningful to them to say, I was selected as an all-star. I'm going to keep the conversation going here. Kevin Durant put out this tweet. I think it was yesterday that he put this out. Let me find this here real quick. Kevin Durant put out a tweet basically leaning towards, why don't we just cancel the All-Star game? Here's what he said. He said, I think it's more fun to complain about the NBA than to actually watch it. Crazy. Cancel All-Star weekend and let's just give everybody a break since we're so miserable around this time. All right. I'll throw this out to people. If tomorrow the NBA announced, guys, we're done with the All-Star game. Everybody gets 1 week off. We just get a break from the NBA, 1 week off. That's it. I don't know if there's going to be people lining up with signs outside of, where the next All-Star game is supposed to be. I think next year it's actually in LA. I want to say it's at Intuit. I think the Clippers have it. It's at Intuit Dome. I don't think there's going to be people picketing outside of the arena saying, we want the All-Star game. We want the I don't think that's going to be happening. Here's my only problem with Kevin Durant and his tweet about why don't we just cancel the All-Star weekend? I don't think fans ever wanted the All-Star game to be canceled. I just think fans basically got very frustrated that none of the players give a rat's ass about the All-Star game, that none of the players care about All-Star weekend, that none of the players, I mean, I was reading this yesterday. Remember, I grabbed that clip from Draymond Green about, Draymond sitting back and saying that it's so disrespectful to have the rising stars in the All-Star game. No, Draymond, what's disrespectful is all the All-Stars don't care about the All-Star game. I would say that that's more disrespectful than having the rising stars there. Not that the rising stars would be my first choice. I think they should probably just expand the roster. If you want to go put 32 players in, 16 on both sides, then you could have your 4 teams if you want to do it that way. 8 players from 4 squads that you have. Shaq's teams. I'm not here to give you the solution. My point is this. My point is the problem with canceling the All-Star game is it's basically the players who don't care about what's supposed to be something highlighted for the fans. I don't want them to get their way of saying, yep, okay, perfect. Now we don't have to do the All-Star game. Okay, what's next? What else are they not interested in while they're getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars or 10 million or 15 million or 50 million or whatever the number is? What else are they not interested in that now will just kind of take away from their plate as well? It's like you got to also give a little bit here. Do something that, if the fans want it. I don't care. I don't look at the All-Star game. I'm going to lose sleep one way or the other. But the idea of canceling the All-Star game, it's like, all right, well, if you cancel it, then players are like, all right, we won. Is there something else they're not interested in that, you're not going to have later? I think the NBA is scrambling to try to find ways to have interest in the league. And I'm not telling you that the All-Star game is the answer, but it was just a couple interesting days around the NBA. I think the NBA right now is in a really interesting position where there's a lot more people that like complaining about the NBA than complimenting what the NBA is doing. So that's something that the league and the players got to keep in mind. Because you do this enough. I mean, I don't care what kind of business that you run. If you're not respectful to your customers, it's going to affect your business. It will at some point. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but at some point it's going to affect your business. Let's take a look at some of the comments here, and then I'm looking forward to just talking some Lakers basketball. We got some Lakers basketball coming up tomorrow, and then I promise to everyone, we will never have an all-star game conversation again for 364 more days. Maybe 360 days, because then leading up to the all-star game, we got to get back into it. All right, let's see what we got here. All-Star Weekend is the second highest revenue generator for the NBA, only behind the playoffs. All-Star Game isn't going anywhere. Northborough AES, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It won't go anywhere. By the way, I don't know about that. The second highest. I'm not sure about that. I'm really not. So I don't have any background to it, but that surprises me a little bit. That surprises me that the All-Star Game would be that high of a revenue generator, just because it's so uninteresting. you know? It's such an uninteresting watch. That's surprising that it would be that high of a gem. But you might be right. And I don't think it is going anywhere. I think I think the NBA will make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. But I appreciate the comment here. Ben, worst thing about the NBA All Star Game is BS negative media. Ben, listen, I got to be honest with you, and I've mentioned this as well. You're right that there's so many negative stories around it. And I think that's the point Kevin Durant was having. Kevin Durant's like, if we're all so miserable about the All-Star game, then why don't we just cancel it? Here's the problem with that argument. I feel like there's a lot of negativity around the NBA, period, not just the All-Star game. Remember, we were talking about ratings. We're talking about the way the game is played. Draymond Green was just saying a couple days ago that the NBA is boring. I've had conversations with Michael Thompson, who's been around the game for a long time, and what's been part of his dialogue, it's been like it's too predictable. Talk about the replays. Do you feel like we're doing this in the NFL? In Major League Baseball? Maybe we are, and I just don't notice it. But I feel like of all the sports, the most bitching and complaining and negativity comes from the NBA, comes from our conversations about the NBA. I don't think it's just an all-star game thing, too. I think there's a lot of that that's past just the NBA. Let's get some more in here. All right, good series. Look, this is a perfect. Yesterday, him and I were battling. Today, we both come back here and we're ready to go. We got no beef with each other. Agree. ASG is not important to most fans. But James drama is a punk move. Didn't figure you to be such a James fan. Brother, I don't have any ties to anybody. I just give you my opinion. It's not about being a James fan. It's not about, I got no problem criticizing LeBron James. Just your stance on it was a lot more firm than my stance. You had a lot more emotion towards it than I did. That's all. Thank you for the super brother. I appreciate it. Let's get a couple more of these in here. And then I want to actually start talking about Lakers basketball. I just want to start talking about Lakers basketball. Start talking about the actual season that we have that we're working with here. I did something yesterday, and I apologize if I missed it, but I felt like I missed a couple supers yesterday. My apologies if I did. I'm just making sure that I got to everybody's here. Let me get a couple just comments here off the lives, and then we'll keep going. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got here. No more Kevin Hart. Dude was annoying. Let's see. People don't realize how popular basketball is globally. You're right about that. That part's not talked about enough. Okay, let's one more in here. The whole All-Star Game TV promo is all fluff. No one wants to watch all that nonsense. I like competition. Best way that I can put it. It's the one thing that I love about sports. No question about the one thing I love about sports. I love competition. Whether you played sports, you didn't play sports. I remember playing pickup. I played pickup basketball my entire life. And then once COVID hit and they started closing the gyms, I never play anymore. I never play consistent or anything like that. But it didn't even matter. Like, I think for anybody that has played pickup or any sport, right? The reason why you do it, the competition's fun. In pickup ball, you got 15 guys, 20 guys on the court. I'm not trying to sit. The last thing I want to do is play one game. This happens to all of us. Play one game. You lose that one game, and then you're sitting there for freaking 35, 40 minutes, 30, whatever the case is, you're sitting there. Competition is why we watch the game. It's why we played sports growing up. Competition is just phenomenal. I love competition, right? when you start watching products where they're not competing and they don't care, it takes away all that juice. It takes away the reason or the justification of watching whatever it is that you're watching. So I think that's what I think that's what it is more than anything else. That coffee right there. Cheers to you, brother. Cheers to you. Good morning to you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys all being a part of the show. All right, let's get started here. Let's get started. Let's get into some of the other comments or some of the other topics that I want to get into. So yesterday I mentioned this. I want you guys to take a listen to this. And I think it could have got lost yesterday in the conversation with Kevin Gray Jr., who's part of All Sports Dallas. You know, I was talking to him about the position the Lakers are in, and the roster is not perfect. And, you know, they're going to need the offseason to try to definitely going to need the offseason to try to build around Luka. And eventually that will come. And he kind of, I thought it was interesting because I think he did something that maybe I'm taking for granted here. He said something yesterday about it's not just you got Luka and you got to start preparing for next year and the years beyond. He was talking about how dangerous the Lakers can be this upcoming playoff round, even though the lineup is not perfect, even though the lineup is not built around Luka the way it should be yet, right? Lakers are obviously going to try to accommodate that and do that. But take a listen here, because here's Kevin Gray Jr. talking specifically about what he thinks the Lakers are capable of this year just because Luka's on the team. Take a listen.
I mean, I still think that they're a Western Conference Finals threat. I mean, I go back to a few seasons ago. The starting center for the Dallas Mavericks when they went to the West Final, when they lost in 5 games to the Golden State Warriors, was Dwight Powell. And Dwight Powell's been a serviceable big man in the league for a long time. No one, I mean, not a great big man, obviously, never an all-star, that kind of thing, but a serviceable big man. And he took that team to the Western Conference Finals with Jalen Brunson and Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock, right. You know, and if he could take that team to a Western Conference Final, I mean, he's doing okay with the pieces around him in Los Angeles. So, I mean, just having him on this team makes him a legitimate playoff threat because of what he has done in the past, but most importantly, what he most recently done and helping the Mavericks go to the NBA Finals. And then you add LeBron James, Austin Reeves, then you got Rui Hachimura. You'll see what you can get from Jackson Hayes, Dorian Finney-Smith, who's had experience, had been there, done that before. So this is a team, if they're able to put it together over the post All-Star break, they got a legit chance to make it, second round Western Conference Finals because Luka is that good. He raises the ceiling for the Lakers that much and can do so that quickly if they get it to gel in a short amount of time here.
All right, I'll stop it right there. So, okay, this is why I wanted to play that. I think when the conversation was going on with him, I'm kind of in my own right. I'm getting ready, and we're having a conversation. I have a certain amount of topics that I want to get into, and I didn't really get a chance to kind of sit on that for a quick second. Here's somebody that has covered the Dallas Mavericks since Luka Doncic got drafted by the Mavs, and is telling me specifics of, look, I know we know this because a lot of people on here are watching NBA basketball or watching other teams, but I'm not going to know Luka and the Dallas Mavericks the way this guy is. And I thought it was interesting that he's saying, no, you'll have a shot in the playoffs because once the postseason starts and Luka's in that mix and you get a 7-game set, I've already seen it against the Clippers, or I've already seen it against the Minnesota Timberwolves, or I've already seen it against, he can start listing out all these teams or specific performances that Luka's had where he's become just a killer come postseason. It's not very common to have a player as good as Luka whose numbers are actually better in the postseason than they are in the regular season. That's not that common, right? Where players who are already MVP caliber type of players take their game to another level, and that's what he's referring to with Luka. And I think for me, I've been caught on this. I'm going to expose myself on this. I've been caught on this, guys. they're only going to be able to make so much noise this year. How are you going to make noise when you don't have size? Talented size. Not Alex Len, I have a 7-footer. I'm talking about players that you feel like can have a real impact on both sides of the floor. Jackson Hayes, I'm not telling you he's awful, but he's clearly has his limitations. I've been held up on this. You only got 30 games to kind of figure this out. That's not enough time. I've been caught up on you traded for Mark Williams and then the trade didn't happen. And now you're trying to kind of piece everything together. That's what I've been looking at. I thought Kevin Gray Jr. did a phenomenal job of saying, like, yeah, but it's Luka. And if you got LeBron on the same team as well, and you get a 7-game set against, I don't care who it is, you get an opportunity to, okay, this is what they did. Cool. This is how we're going to react to it. Okay, this is how we just won this game or lost this game. This is how we can bring two of the most brilliant minds that are sitting in the game today in Luka and LeBron and try to figure out how to combat this or combat that. So I thought it was a great perspective from Kevin Gray Jr. And maybe I'm not looking at the Lakers as much of a threat as I should. We'll see. Right? I think once the season starts back up tomorrow, I've kind of gone through the schedule with you guys before. They play Denver 3 times in the next 3 weeks. You got the Clippers twice. You're going to have games pretty soon coming at Boston. The Knicks are going to be coming into town. I mean, you got some great games. Minnesota, Phoenix. You got some great games coming up that the Lakers are going to be a part of. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be fun. But it's also going to be a great way to kind of see what this Lakers team is, what we feel like they can become, what they look like when Luka's got 10 games under his belt rather than 2. So I found it interesting that here's somebody that's looking at things from a Dallas Mavericks perspective, or when Luka was with the Dallas Mavericks, and was kind of like, I don't even think you know what you have. That's what I felt like I was walking away from the conversation. I almost felt like there was a portion in the conversation with him yesterday where I said something about what exactly is Luka bringing to the table. And the guy literally laughed at me. He was like, huh. Like, as in almost, you don't even know what you have. And he's probably right. I don't think I really know. I'm assuming the Lakers have a top 3 player in the league. But I don't think he's, clearly top 3 today. Is he going to be top 3 by the time the playoffs start? What's he going to look like? What's his body going to look like? His conditioning, his timing with the rest of the players. I think that part's going to be interesting. I was looking as well here. Really, the real threats in the Western Conference. Who are the real threats right now in the Western Conference? Oklahoma City Thunder are doing things that are actually historical in the regular season. So I think everybody agrees the Thunder that's the team to beat. I think everybody gives the Denver Nuggets an incredible benefit of the doubt because they got the best player in the world and they've already won an NBA championship. So I think a lot of people give them, obviously a tremendous amount of credit and give them respect because they deserve that respect. After those 2 teams, I think everybody's got question marks. Everybody. And by the way, that's not even a lock or a guarantee that Denver and OKC are signed, sealed, and delivered, and those 2 teams are going to be in the Western Conference Finals. It's like, okay, we'll kind of wait and see as well. Denver's playing good ball, but we know they lost depth. OKC, okay, is there any part of the lack of experience that will affect them, or are they fine? We'll have to wait and see. But you almost kind of feel like if you can avoid one of those 2 teams in the first round of the playoffs, no question about it, take your chances against Houston or Memphis or the Clippers or whoever it is. I think that part's going to be fascinating. I'm going to look at some of the comments here, and then I want to get into Luka's body specifically because there was an article out there coming from a podcast. I think a lot of the comments that I've got, I feel like a lot of Laker fans have said, hey, is this dude going to get in shape? Is he not going to get in shape? I think that's a fair criticism that Laker fans already have on Luka, to say will this guy be the same? Will he approach the game the same way he did in Dallas, or is he going to become just a completely different player from a conditioning standpoint? Last thing I just want to mention with the Kevin Gray Jr. conversation, I thought it was interesting too. He said Mavs fans will never forgive the front office. I asked, is there any way they can justify the deal down the road? And, I don't think he was joking when he was like, yeah, all they got to do is AD's got to win 3 finals MVPs. They just got to win 3 NBA championships. I mean, I think from his perspective is that Mavs fans will never forgive or forget what Dallas did. And obviously the Lakers were able to benefit off of it. Okay, before we get to Luka's body, like I mentioned, let me take a look at some of the comments here. Let me see what we got here. Western Conference Finals, Denver and the Warriors. Jimmy Butler, obviously a part of Denver. I'm sorry, of the Golden State Warriors. West Coast Kings, a new YouTube member. Thank you, West Coast Kings. Thank you, brother. I'm actually going to have some exclusive content a little bit later today for YouTube members first, and then I'll release it out at some point later for everybody else. Working on getting Bobby Marks on from ESPN. So we're going to record something early in the afternoon. I'll have that up for members first, and then eventually we'll get that out to everybody else as well. So there's some incentive there to be a member. Thank you, West Coast Kings, for doing that. Denver is whatever now. No one is beating OKC. OKC is nothing scary. OKC has a bunch of children, no experience. I'm going to say this real quick on the Thunder front. On the Oklahoma City Thunder. Either we're all going to be sitting here in a few months and just saying, yeah, guys, I mean, come on, they're not ready. I mean, clearly, they're not ready. Or OKC is going to be starting this just sheer domination in the West. One of the two is going to, I guess both can happen. They could also not make it to the NBA Finals and still be starting their sheer domination of the West. But if they're this young and they're already getting to the NBA Finals and they have all the assets that they have, and they've been as patient as they have been as far as, using their draft picks and developing and this and that and making proper trades when they need to. OKC is going to be interesting. I think they're beatable. I definitely think they're beatable, but until you get to the NBA Finals and win it, it's fair to have hesitation on them. All right, let's get another one here. Let's see what else we have here as I weed through the LeBron All-Star Game stuff. Just make Joker work a little. This was talking about how you can have a couple specific individuals in there that just make Joker work a little and wear him out late in the game. No one's stopping him. Yeah, no one's going to stop him. Lakers couldn't stop him when the Lakers had Anthony Davis. What makes anybody think they're going to stop him without Anthony Davis, right? But that's okay. I mean, honestly, I've always looked at Denver. I want Nikola Jokic dropping 45. What I don't want Nikola Jokic doing is having 14 assists. That's what I don't want Jokic doing. That to me is more important when I look at Nikola Jokic. I don't want Nikola Jokic doing that. I'm looking for Jokic. Let Jokic do whatever the hell he wants scoring-wise. I don't want him to get everybody else involved. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see. Slee, did you not see how Murray is playing? Baller. Actually, I know Denver was playing well. Him, I don't know how great he was doing, but I know how great he is. Jamal Murray's an absolute stud. But what hurt Denver was their depth. After they won the championship, they lost Bruce Brown, Jeff Green. Last year, they lost KCP. So it's your depth, not just your stars, that I think make up a team. Let me use the Lakers as a good example here. And then we're going to get into Luka's conditioning here. Lakers can have Luka and LeBron go off and still lose if Rui, Gabe Vincent. You know why the Lakers went through this streak where I think they won 12 or 14, something like that? It was because of Rui, Gabe Vincent, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jared Vanderbilt, Jackson Hayes, Austin Reeves. It was the other guys. So a lot of times it's not just because of the stars. It has a lot to do with what are the other role players doing. All right. I got to highlight somebody here real quick. Man, that's very, very nice. Janos Zabo gifted 5 Hoops Talk with Alan Sliwa memberships. Janos, that's phenomenal, man. Really, really appreciate you doing that. I'm sure a lot of the people here in the chat and that are listening to the video right now appreciate it as well. So, Janos, thank you very much, brother. Very, very nice of you to do that. I really, really, really appreciate that, brother. Really, really appreciate that. There we go. Give Janos some love here, guys. Give Janos some damn love. Okay. Janos with a career high 5 assists. He threw a couple no-lookers too, a couple dimes. I appreciate it, Janos. Thank you very much. Very, very nice of you to do that, brother. Really, really appreciate it. Okay. I want to get into Luka specifically, his conditioning. There's a couple quotes that I want to read from another podcast out there. Before I do that, I want to give some quick love here to one of our partners, the Wallace firm, Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. If you or someone you know was in a serious injury, you should reach out to Brad Wallace. This is a personal friend of mine, somebody that I've known for about 5 years or so. When I was at 710 ESPN, Brad Wallace was a partner with me. I used to do his endorsements. I used to talk about their business, spent a lot of time with him and his team. They're out in Encino. They represent the entire state of California if you ever run into an issue. And then here I am, after I left 710, starting my own completely independent venture. And he follows me on here to YouTube. So that just kind of shows the love that he has for me, the channel, our relationship. And I want to reciprocate that love by making sure that if there's anyone that runs into some type of a legal issue, that I got a guy that you can use, at least have the conversation with him. You can get a free consultation. We have a URL here, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa to get a free consultation. Let him walk you or your family through your legal options. I'm sure it's a very intimidating and daunting process. They consistently win big injury and wrongful death cases, and you won't pay them until they win for you. So you don't got to get anything out of your pocket here. I mentioned it's a free consultation, and hopefully he can help you. I hope you guys never need him. I hope you guys never need what he's an expert in, but life happens. And if you ever do need him, I can make a personal introduction to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. So just a shout out here to one of our partners. I appreciate them supporting the channel as I continue to try to make things happen here on YouTube. So thank you to the Wallace firm here. Okay, let's keep going here. I want to talk about Luka. Is it fair to say that a lot of the conversation so far about Luka with the Lakers? Let me. You guys can correct me if you think I'm wrong on this one. Get a quick sip here. Only the good stuff. Only the good stuff. Here's how I read Luka Doncic so far as a Laker from I think a fan perspective. And again, you guys tell me if I'm on the right direction, on the right path on this one. I see Luka, that there are Laker fans that are incredibly excited to have Luka Doncic as a Laker. I think there are Laker fans that are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how we just got this guy. This doesn't make any sense. I can't believe the Mavs traded one of the top 3 players in the world. And when he's at his best, I do believe he's one of the top 3 players in the world. Nikola Jokic is number one. Everybody else is chasing after that. You want to put Giannis there. You want to put Shea there. You want to put Luka there. You put it Tatum. I don't care who you put. You're not getting very far without talking about Luka Doncic. Finally, Laker fans see the future. I think there's a lot of Laker fans that are sitting back there and they're saying to themselves, okay, how cool is this? Now there is life after LeBron James. That LeBron will eventually, whenever he decides to retire, and whether that's coming up in a year or 3 years, I have no idea. I've read articles now that because Luka is a Laker, that this is kind of some renewed energy for LeBron. He's going to be asked to do less. Now you actually have a player that will grab the keys of the franchise and say, give me the damn keys. He was already doing that in Dallas, got them to an NBA championship. A lot of people very excited about all of that. But another big piece of the conversation that comes with Luka is his conditioning. Whether people want to admit it or they don't, or people want to be wildly blunt about it or they don't, it's a conversation. I mean, I'll tell you this, through the first 2 games that the Lakers have played, when I do that post-game show, which we'll get back into doing the post-game shows tomorrow after Lakers play Charlotte. But when I do the post-game show, I'm looking at a lot of these comments. Some people are saying, hey, Luka looks great. Other people are saying, hey, Luka's out of shape. And we saw on his way out the door in Dallas, there were some quotes out there that were about his conditioning, that were about his commitment to the game. There were some quotes that, is he going to be, do they want to pay $345 million for a player that they don't feel is in the tip-top shape conditioning-wise? That's part of the conversation that also comes with Luka. All the great, and then also the portion of this guy's got to get his body right. Okay, so he played 2 games with the Lakers. Not a big deal. Nobody cares. I wasn't looking at, I mentioned this. There wasn't a moment that I was watching those first 2 games with Luka and saying to myself, well, if he doesn't have a triple-double, he's really not going to make it. Like, I'm not being critical. Guy hadn't played since Christmas. He's just getting to L.A. I'm much more concerned when the Lakers 5 games from now are starting to play some real competition. They're on the road. You're looking at the standings and saying, okay, if they win this game, this is critical in the standings. If they lose this game, this is going to hurt them. I want more at stake, and I want Luka in a position where it's no longer a shock that he's a Laker. Okay, he's a Laker. This is what you're running with. You got traded from Dallas. What are you going to do moving forward here? There was a podcast out there, okay? In a recent report, former Mavericks executive Haralabos Valgeris explained how the Slovenian superstar's lifestyle habits led GM Nico Harrison to make the trade. Okay? All right. I'm just going to read some portions of this. All right. So let's see what we got here. The report also highlighted how the 25-year-old had a lifestyle that included drinking beer and smoking a hookah, neither of which fit Harrison's idea of a star player and commitment to the craft. Okay. Keep going here. Here's a quote from the podcast. Valgeris, who served with the Mavs from 2018 to 2021, told a story of Doncic filling a thermos with lemonade and sweet tea. Okay, this again, just a couple pieces here that I'm grabbing from somebody that used to be an executive there. Here's an actual quote from the podcast. Every person who worked at the Mavericks, except for me, was terrified of this guy. I know liquid calories are death. Okay. Let me grab another one here. Remember when remember when Nico Harrison, when he was justifying why he made the trade? There are levels to it, and there are people that fit the culture, and there are people that come in and add to the culture. Those are 2 distinct things, and I believe the people that are coming in are adding to the culture. This is when he actually made the trade, and he's specifically talking about Max Christie and Anthony Davis are adding to the culture, not just trying to fit the culture. All right, couple quotes, nothing crazy. I think it's well reported that Luka, from from a physical perspective, is not exactly a physical specimen. Now he's still balling out, but not exactly a physical specimen. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I remember when he had just got traded, and I had said that the way that he was kind of booted out the door in Dallas and the way that he was talked about on his way out the door in Dallas, I remember saying that, man, if this is not motivation for Luka, then I don't know what motivation is. Now, Luka can sit here and tell you, I'm dropping 39-9 on NBA players, and I got to the NBA Finals by the time I'm 25 years old, and I'm first team All NBA 5 years in a row, and I'm 25. Don't tell me what to do with my body. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm capable of. I know how great I can be. I'm pretty sure I've had enough success to where I don't need anybody kind of interfering with what my day to day is. All right. Well, I've mentioned this, that a lot of the quotes that I've been talking about, or no, I'm sorry, not a lot of quotes, a lot of the comments that I've been seeing, there is a lot about Luka and his conditioning and his body, and fans saying, God, this guy's kind of got to drop 10, 15, 20 pounds, whatever the case is. Had Michael Thompson on. You guys know Michael Thompson very well. One of the first things he said when I had Michael on, it was maybe about 2 weeks ago or so, something like that, a week and a half ago, whatever it was. Michael's like, yeah, he's fat. He said that when he was with Dallas, that's what he used to say. The point that he was trying to make is, yeah, he's got to drop weight. Your body is your business. You got to take care of your body. I will say this, that I hope we're not having conversations about Luka, his conditioning, his body. I hope we're not having that conversation for much longer. And it is going to be up to Luka. I think, well, how much better can he be if he dropped 15 pounds? I don't have that answer. How much better can he be if his conditioning was better? By the way, he played most amount of minutes last year in the NBA. So it's not like the guy's not playing. But how much better can he be if we know his mind, we know his skill set, we know just the way he plays the game and how great he is? How much better can he be if his mind and his body are completely in sync and he's at, a physical level that he's never been at before? I would have to imagine that there's more from Luka that he can get out of his body. He's only going to get smarter. He's only going to move closer into his prime, but he's also had nagging injuries. He's had this issue with the calf. How much of it is his conditioning? So I'm not one to kind of sit here and tell everybody, because you can make an argument both ways. I can make an argument and say, look at his resume. Don't bitch about anything about what he's done in his career or his body. His resume speaks for itself. But I could also look at him and say, okay, well, can he take his game to another level if his body was, I'm not telling you that he's going to go be LeBron or he's going to go be, I don't know. You pick whatever great athlete that's out there, but can his body be better than it is? I think everybody would say yes. I think it, obviously I think it can be. I just don't want that to continue to be a conversation. I would hate for that to continue to be a conversation for Luka. Because, what's going to be different here with Luka in LA too, representing the Lakers. And this isn't a shot at the Dallas Mavericks. It really, really isn't. But he was kind of the king in Dallas, kind of do whatever the hell he wants. That was a franchise that was just very, very happy to have Luka. And then also a franchise that was saying to itself, I think we're going to probably have a chance to compete for a championship here for the next 10 years because Luka is our guy. With the Lakers, it's like 2 games in, they beat the Jazz in one game, they lost to the Jazz in another. And I was reading 60% of the comments is like, well, Luka's not in shape. The expectation is going to be wildly different as a Laker. It's not going to be, can you get to the NBA Finals? Can you compete in the West? Oh my gosh, look, the future looks a little bit brighter because the Lakers have a young star. It's going to be, I remember when Shaq became a Laker. I remember that I think it was Sports Illustrated, and they had all these Laker great centers, and they were putting Shaq in there as well. But the conversation was like, well, you can't be in the conversation until you start winning. Remember, Del Harris was the coach, and the Lakers, they lose to the Utah Jazz. They lost to the San Antonio. They couldn't get over the hump. Phil Jackson comes in. Obviously everything changes from there. But the expectations instantly when Shaq got here, it's like, no, it's not, are you going to win a championship? It's how many championships are you going to win? The moment Shaq gets traded, now it's Kobe's team. And it's like, Kobe, what the hell did you do with this franchise? Why did you chase Shaq out of here? This is going to be on your ass if the Lakers can't win. And Kobe's like, yeah, I get that. I understand that. Yeah, we're going to eventually win here. Wins 2 championships. Bron, the moment he got here, expectations of winning an NBA championship. So that's obviously what comes with the Lakers. And all I'm saying is I think for Luka, it's going to be so incredibly, incredibly important for Luka to get out of this conversation that, hey, my body, I'm holding myself back because of my body. See what happens. All right, let's go back here. I know there's a lot of comments, so we're going to get in here. I mean, listen, if I'm having some hookah and a couple of beers, it's not going to affect me. I can play right through it. I can grab on this mic. I might be breathing a little bit heavy, I might get to like 8:45 and call timeout and say, guys, I need a breather here. Smoke a little bit more hookah. I haven't had hookah in a long time. I can't do hookah. Just can't do hookah. I got cousins that will smoke hookah like it's freaking going out of business. All right, let's see what we got here. Dallas front office is leaking all this stuff to the media just to justify the trade. There's nothing they can do to justify the trade. I mean, I've had now conversations. I had a conversation, really, really good conversation with Brad Townsend, Dallas Morning Star, who was at the Luka presser, and he was the one actually asking him the question, did you give any indication that you weren't going to re-sign with the Dallas Mavericks? What's your relationship with the front office? So this guy's as dialed in as it gets, Brad Townsend. And when he came on, the way he explained it to me, it doesn't matter what the front office was trying to. It actually makes the front office look worse when they're trying to explain why they, traded Luka. Yesterday, having Kevin Gray Jr. on, these are 2 individuals that I've had on that are covering the Dallas Mavericks. I don't think anything is going to justify to those fans out there that what they did was okay. So I actually really believe the front office has really hurt themselves. They've kind of questioned their own integrity. I'm sure there's a lot of players out there that are saying to themselves something to the effect of like, I don't want to go play for the Mavs. It's just a bad look all the way through. That's not bad. Luka Doncic, that's not bad. I like that. Maybe have like a silhouette of Luka just smoking a hookah, like kind of a black and white silhouette, a Luka Doncic. He could start doing ads for local hookah companies. I like it. This is the freaking thinking I want here. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let me see. All right, let's see. I hope the average Lakers fan doesn't get overwhelmed by all the Luka and LBJ fans battling for supremacy. Yeah, I never understood that. I never understood that really, the Kobe LeBron stuff. Like there were a lot of Laker fans that didn't want to see LeBron do well. They're not competing against each other, guys. They're really not. Luka was 40 lighter 5 years ago, and he's only 25. He'll not last 10 years at this condition. I think this is my point. My point is that this is a discussion. It's a conversation. So let me be very clear here. Just the mere fact that this is a conversation, that's what Luka's got to get out of the way. What we should be talking about with Luka and the Lakers is, hey, they lost in the playoffs because the roster doesn't look good, because they don't have the right players, this, that, whatever the case is. When we're talking about Luka 2 years from now, 3 years from now, the conversation's got to be about basketball. It should not be about anything other than basketball. That's what you're hoping for. Because this isn't good for Luka that this is part of the conversation. Guys, I don't care. I'm not paying attention to anything that Dallas said on his way out. I think we can see Luka and say to ourselves, yeah, he's got to drop some LBs. He's got to be in better shape. All right, let's get some more in here. But just imagine if he's in shape. You talking about me or Luka? Doncic is already in his prime. He's not a normal 25-year-old. He's aged much faster. I think, Andrew, something to keep in mind too. Okay, that's what I was going to say, is he's basically been in the pros for a long time. He's been about it for a long time. All right, let's see what else we got here. Thompson is correct. It's fact that Luka is fat right now. Damn, how am I getting paid while watching Alan Sliwa in the morning? Okay, all right. Go do your thing, bro. Go make money. Go do whatever it is you have to do. I had some comments here that said poor Del Harris. Del Harris taking strays. For what? Del Harris did nothing wrong. Del Harris couldn't win a championship. That was the problem. Couldn't win a chip. All right, let's keep going here. I got a couple more topics that I want to get into. Janos, thank you again, bro. Freaking stud. Janos going out there. Absolute stud. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you very much for doing that. Did you guys hear? I know certain Laker fans got a specific relationship with Paul George. Paul George was on his podcast. Man, Paul George grinding on the podcast. But that man does not look healthy in Philly. What was his contract? Paul George contract. Oh, Paul George. It's a lot of dough going to Paul George. Paul George is making $49 million this year, $51 million next year, $54 million 26-27, $56 million 27-28, and he's got a player option in that final year. Pretty sure he's going to take that player option. He signed a 4-year, $211 million deal. You guys can say whatever you want about Paul George, but he's getting paid. He was talking about the Lakers on his podcast. So here's what I'm going to point out a couple things here. He said, Philadelphia 76ers, Paul George said, they understand spacing. He's talking about Luka and LeBron. They understand pick and rolls. They see plays 2-3 plays ahead. They know how to manipulate the defense. They are both obviously great with the basketball in their hands. I think that was the reason Luka was brought over, so Bron can be off the ball a little bit more and not have to make all the plays. It's going to work. I think it's definitely a pick your poison sort of situation. It's going to be tough. And then he said, what was one of the quotes that I got here that he said? It's going to be, this was kind of interesting. He said, it's going to be dynamic with Jackson Hayes at the center position. Thank God the Mark Williams trade didn't go through. And then he says, Austin Reeves is definitely a weapon. Good luck in the West. It's going to be a nightmare when you play the Lakers. So Paul George giving a lot of compliments towards the Lakers and that trade. And, whether you're a Paul George fan or not, certainly the guy knows the game, understands the game, has been in the game for a long time, has played against Luka, has played against LeBron, has played against, some of these players around the league, some of the elite in the league. And with all that in mind, he seems pretty damn confident that this Laker deal is going to work. So something to keep in mind. Anytime I think there's a player perspective, I like paying attention to it, especially, a player like that. He's going to say what his opinion is. I don't know if you guys saw this story as well. Mark Williams And the Lakers got Charlotte tomorrow. So tomorrow, by the way, is a makeup game. Lakers missed 2 games because of the LA wildfires, and one of those games is going to be made up tomorrow. So most teams, I don't think, are starting until Thursday. Lakers got a makeup game tomorrow. So I don't know if the Clippers do as well, but anyway, something to keep in mind. Um, this Mark Williams, I saw this had come out probably 2 days ago or so. I was looking at the injury report and I was trying to see, is Mark Williams going to play or not? Is he back? Is he not? Mark Williams hasn't returned to the Hornets since rescinded trade with the Lakers. Rod Boone is who reported this. It's believed that the Hornets are giving Williams time to readjust to being back with the team. It's a bit of an odd coincidence. Charlotte's first game after the All-Star break is on Wednesday against the Los Angeles Lakers. So I know we were talking a lot about, Dalton Connect having to adjust and eventually, all right, how's he going to, is he going to be fine? Is he not going to be fine? Sounds like it's going to take a, couple of minutes here for the Mark Williams trade, at least from Charlotte's perspective, to get back where he needs to be. I saw this also yesterday. I didn't get a chance to talk a little bit about it. Adam Silver gave an update on the rescinded trade. This was kind of interesting. He said, Adam Silver said that there has not been a formal protest filed by the Charlotte Hornets in the wake of the rescinded Mark Williams trade with the Lakers. That doesn't mean that they won't file something, but that nothing, officially came down. Something to keep in mind there. And then the last thing I just want to mention on this Mark Williams stuff is Mark Stein had put something out here on Substack. Does a phenomenal job. I'm a member of that, by the way. You get some great content information, something to keep in mind. Here's what he had put out there. He said, there has been no tangible dismay from the Luka Doncic camp about his new team walking away from the Mark Williams deal. He said that in his first discussion about roster construction with Lakers Vice President Rob Pelinka, Luka told Pelinka that he understood it might take until the summer to make the addition and came away impressed by how swiftly the Lakers initially moved to try to address that void. We talked about this when the Mark Williams trade was rescinded, that there's nobody that can look at Rob Pelinka and be upset about what he tried to do. He tried going out there and getting a big, tried kind of getting something exactly that Luka can use. And then I think was also responsible to say, it's going to be part of my conversation with Bobby Marks later today, which I mentioned. I'll get that thing up probably by 1:00, something like that. I'm just going to I'm going to record an interview with him. He wasn't able to go live. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm still going to record a conversation with Bobby Marks. But Bobby Marks, he was one of the first people to kind of tweet out, hey, Lakers gave up a lot for Mark Williams. But I think it was Pelinka's responsibility to say, okay, if I can't see that Mark Williams is healthy for the future, then I'm gonna pump the brakes here for a quick second, and I'm gonna rescind this trade. But Luka's got to look at it like, all right, at least he went out and tried to get somebody. Clearly, Pelinka tried to, and now they got all these assets that they could try to go figure out in the summer if they can go make another move. All right, let me get to a couple comments here, and then I got one thing here on Caitlin Clark that I want to do, and then we will call it a morning, my people. All right, let me see a couple of comments here. Alan, this one's on Instagram. I got to remind myself to try to grab some of these off Instagram. Denver has had our number for a couple years now. We don't have AD or D'Lo anymore. You think the results will still be the same with Luka in place of AD? I think the fact that Lakers didn't have any success, whether Anthony Davis was there or not, in the playoffs, they went 8-1 against the Lakers. I almost feel like you got to kind of approach it wildly different to see that if something is going to change. If AD was still on the Lakers and D'Lo, let's use as an example, what would make anybody think the Lakers are going to beat Denver? I think the only way you can make a case that Lakers got a shot against Denver is you blew it up and your game plan is completely different. So maybe they lose again if they play Denver. But I would rather try this because I know what the Lakers were trying before clearly wasn't working. Let's get a couple more comments in here. If you're a GM, it really hurts your negotiations to have a player requesting players to the media. How do you trade your only big for a non-defending guard and not immediately have a replacement ready? I'll tell you how, Andrew. You got a shot to get Luka. You just get him and you figure everything else out later. This wasn't about, like I've said this before. I never thought this move was for the Lakers to go make a real run this year. But I think by the time we get through next summer, I think it's going to be pretty damn interesting. The Charlotte Hornets tried to bamboozle the Lakers. That's what happened. It's a fugazi. It's a fugazi. That's what Pelinka did. Pelinka looked at the the physical. He looked at the sheet there. He's like, it's a fugazi. He looked back at the Charlotte Hornets. He's like, this out of here. These fake diamonds out of here. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see some more comments here we got here. Fugazi. Guys, look, I got special emojis for the fugazi. It's a fugazi. Let's see here. Positive vibes from now on, Sliwa. Let's get the negativity out. Let's make a run. It's a fugazi. I'm just going to keep saying that. I agree with you that you obviously make the trade instantly. Yeah, they just listen. There's sometimes you can't make the full. You got to lay down the foundation first before you can build. And I think when they got Luka, it was like just freaking lay the concrete down. Let's get the foundation set, and then we'll figure out where the kitchen's going to go, and we'll figure out how many square feet we want. Just lay the foundation down and figure everything else out from there. Okay, last thing I want to get into here, and then we'll get the hell out of here. Got some meetings today, guys. We're busy. I got a 10, a 10:30, and an 11. Then I got about a half-hour break after that, and then Bobby Marks right after that. Grinding today. Did you guys see the story earlier? I saw this on ESPN today. You guys see the story? There's an article out here, and it's the agent for Caitlin Clark. I don't know how much you guys have followed Caitlin Clark. For me, when she was playing college ball, it was kind of impossible not to follow her. And even now that she's in the WNBA, it's like pretty damn cool to see what she's doing for the sport. And it's not just her, but she's definitely getting eyes on the WNBA. Okay. Let me read this quote here to everybody. And then something that I read that I had no idea at all, as far as what Caitlin Clark makes a year for the WNBA. Here's a quote from her agent, Aaron Kane. Okay. Will Caitlin Clark ever be paid by the WNBA what she's really worth to that league? I don't think that's possible. Okay. She's part of a larger player body. They all need to be paid more. She should be recognized for what she has done and what she's brought to the league from an economic standpoint. It's as simple as that. All right. Let's see what we got here. And these are some things that talked about Caitlin Clark, just what's going on at the WNBA. She and the rest of the star-studded rookie class helped drive the WNBA's most watched regular season in 24 years and its highest attendance in more than 20 years. The Indianapolis Star recently calculated that Caitlin Clark was responsible for $36 million in economic impact to the city of Indianapolis and almost 20% of the league's economic activity for the 2024 season, including attendance, merchandise, sales, and television. Can I ask, and if you read the article, it's all good. If you haven't, it's okay. How much do you guys think her salary is in the WNBA? Throw out a number here. What do you guys think her salary is? Actually getting paid from the WNBA, how much do you think she's making from the WNBA? This was shocking to me. I had no idea. I had no idea at all. This is all kind of new information to me. How much do you think Caitlin Clark is making in the WNBA per year? Okay, This one makes more sense to me. 5 mil, 2 mil. Let me find this one. Let me see here. 2 mil, 1 mil per season. By the way, if you told me it was 1 mil, I'm like, get out of here. She's not making a mil. Okay. Mil is nothing for what she's doing. Okay. All right. 1 per annual. 1 mil is generous. My brother, 1 mil is not generous for Caitlin Clark. Do you know what she's making? The first comment on here, she's making $78,000 for the 2025 season. I was looking up her contract. Okay. Listen, she's making money off the court. I'll get into that in just a second. But I don't know. Actually, I know exactly why. I just assumed because it was Caitlin Clark. First off, I didn't know what a lot of the WNBA players were making, period. That's just not something that I knew. And that's, ignorant of me not to know, but I didn't. I genuinely didn't know. We get so caught up in, you're seeing all these NBA salaries, some of these Major League Baseball salaries. I'm just seeing that. So I have not seen what some of the other salaries are. Caitlin Clark has most definitely brought my attention to the WNBA. So when I just hear Caitlin Clark, I'm like, oh, okay, well, she's, probably making whatever she's making. She's killing it. She's this, that, whatever the case is. 78 grand. That's what she's making. That's it. That's all that she's making. She signed a 4-year deal with the Indiana Fever for $338,000 total. That's just that's crazy. That's crazy. I had no idea about that at all. That obviously tells you a lot about what the WNBA salaries are in the WNBA. I think it's certainly a growing league, and I think it will continue to grow because now there's a lot of attention being paid to the WNBA. I've talked about this before. I thought it was cool that Kelsey Plum got traded and Shams was the one that was tweeting it out. Like, I think there's just more attention. There's going to give more media attention towards it. So I think that's naturally going to grow the sport. And Caitlin Clark, I think, is the foundation of all that, at least. And that doesn't mean that other people didn't come and build the sport in the WNBA. They clearly have. There have been great women basketball players that have been a part of the game, but she's brought a lot of attention to it because of her. I just thought that was crazy. $78,000. Now, I did see an article as well. Caitlin Clark's WNBA salary, only 1% of her total 2024 earnings. She's making money off the court. She currently has sponsorship deals with, I don't know if this was while she's in the NBA, WNBA. I think it is. She has sponsorship deals with Nike, at least when I'm reading this. Maybe some of these changed. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, Wilson, Hy-Vee, Xfinity, Gainbridge, Lilly, and Panini. So she's making it happen off the floor. I think estimated $11 million in endorsement earnings. Hey, good for her. She's got to go make it happen, and she's really lifting the entire league up. But I just thought that was a trip. I'm like, what? She's making how much? $78,000. I had no idea that that's how low the contracts were in the WNBA, especially for a player like that. $78K. That's crazy. All this, I think, is going to catch up. So somebody in here is saying $78K is a travesty and embarrassment. Here's what I think, if we're just talking business. What will happen is as the WNBA, that revenue grows, because it is clearly going to grow, the Players Association will have more of a pool. The Players Association will then have more opportunities to not have $78,000 contracts. So all this is it's going to rise. You kind of look at the NBA, and I was mentioning this yesterday that the players got too fat and happy in the NBA. They did. By the way, they did. That's why they don't care about the All-Star game. They don't have to care. When you're OG Anunoby and you're making $40 million a year, OG Anunoby. I love me some OG Anunoby. He's making $40 a year. There are players out there that are just making ridiculous amount of money, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a top 5 player to be making generational wealth. The NBA players got too fat and happy, and there's all this revenue coming in, and the owners are making ridiculous money. Everybody's making ridiculous money. The WNBA is not in that position. So as the WNBA, obviously continues to grow, and somebody like Caitlin Clark can help carry the load here, we'll see where it eventually goes. But that's crazy. That is crazy. $78,000 for Caitlin Clark. When I saw that, I'm like, excuse me? All right, let me get a couple more comments in here. We'll call it a day. JJ, make coach, staff, we dunks to stay humble. Staff wear panda dunks to stay humble. I don't know if I understand the super. I appreciate the super. I don't know if I understand the super. So, sorry, Ben. Appreciate the super. I don't think I fully understood that. Let me get a couple more comments in here, and then I got to get the hell out of here. Been tuned in all this time, not realizing that you're live. So I'm live, bro. Come on, 8 a.m. 8 a.m. I'm live. Okay, a couple quick shout outs here. What we got coming up. I think tonight Sammy will have his preview video up. I got to connect with him, but he'll be previewing Lakers and Charlotte. All right, that's number one. I'm going to have another video coming out later today. It's going to be a conversation with ESPN's Bobby Marks. At least that's the that's at least what it looks like it's going to be planned. Anything can happen. Anything can change, but that's the idea and the concept. I'm going to have a video coming out, Bobby Marks. If you're a member, you're going to get access to the video first. So I know I've mentioned this, $3 a month to be a member, and I'm going to start having more and more exclusive content, a little bit more behind the scenes and everything else. So something to keep in mind from that front. And then tomorrow I'll be back on at 8 a.m. So just something to keep in mind of what we got going on for at least the rest of the schedule. Somebody saying Slee overtime again. What's funny about this, and I think this just kind of comes with the territory. I think for me, there really isn't a time. Just get this here. I don't think there's really a time that I end the show. I think the show will just go for as long as I know that I'm not going to go less than. I know I'm not going to go less than an hour. But if we got good topics, then we're just going to keep going. So we're just going to go as long as we go. All right, that's all I got right here. I did put a link if you do want to be an MVP member. You got that right there. You're a click away, and I'll continue to put up that content. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Thank you to everybody that's subscribed to the channel. Thank you, everybody that's hanging out. We'll be back with you guys soon with some more content, and thank you again for hanging out. Thanks, everybody.